Welcome to Parenting Successful Teens, the podcast that cuts through the overwhelm and stress of this phase and offers parents simple, practical, cognitive, science-based strategies for keeping their teens on track. Join Master Coach and real-life mom, Allie Irwin, to talk about real teens, real problems, and the skills it takes to raise successful adults.
Hello, everybody. I was talking to a friend the other day and telling her that we've got a trip coming up to New York. And of course, we started talking about theater. And I was telling her that if she gets a chance, she should really go see Hamilton, that it lives up to all the hype. And she was telling me that she actually got offered tickets, free tickets to Hamilton. And then she added, but of course I couldn't go because my daughter had a gymnastics meet that day. And it got me thinking, how do you know when you're doing a good job as a mom? What is your personal job description of a successful mom? Because I was thinking about well, how did she decide that that was an of course? Because I definitely would have gone to Hamilton, and I love going to my kids' sporting events. And I'm definitely not saying that my decision is right or that her decision is right or that she should go or that she doesn't love going to gymnastics meets, because I definitely know people that going to all their kids' things is their highest joy. They would on purpose pick that over any other activity. But the part that got me thinking was when she added, of course I have to go to the meet. So it got me thinking about what our expectations of what a good mom does and how we make decisions about what's in our job description and what's not. And so, of course, I Googled it. I Googled the phrase, what is my job as a mom? And the number one search that turned up for that question, what is my job as a mom, came from the Live Strong organization. That's that organization, remember back in the day when we all wore those yellow Live Strong bracelets? That's the organization that Google thought was their best guess at what I would want to read. And this is what they said. The meaning of being a mother is virtually endless. A mother is a protector, disciplinarian, and a friend. Mother is a selfless, loving human who must sacrifice many of their wants and needs for the wants and needs of their children. A mother works hard to make sure their child is equipped with knowledge, skills, and abilities to make it as a competent human. Being a mother is perhaps the hardest, most rewarding job a woman will ever have. Wow, that's a lot. But it feels like there wasn't anything in there that I disagreed with. I was yeah, being a mother is endless. I do want my kids to be competent human beings. But then I got curious, well, what do they say about dads? So I Googled Live Strong dads to try to get them to spit the complimentary description for dads. And the first search that came back was male infertility treatment after cancer. And that made sense because it's a Live Strong organization that was affiliated with Lance Armstrong, and he had cancer. So it would make sense that that would be searched on their site. But then I looked at the number 2 search result, and it was great gifts for dads. So it didn't have anything about what dads are supposed to do. It was about what we could give to dads. And then I was okay, well, what's number 3? I was all infuriated and started doing some other work. And then I was well, surely I'll go back to number 3 and see a job description. And no, number 3 is, why do some fathers and sons not get along? In their search results, they had advice about how to become a dad and give dad gifts and why it could be hard for dad. But they didn't have any description for dads about their job that even vaguely resembled being a mother is endless. We have to sacrifice our needs and wants. It's the hardest thing you'll ever do. Okay, the chasm of difference in expectations for moms and dads was remarkable. then I was like, still really curious. I'm like, well, maybe that's just that one site. Maybe there's more balanced. Maybe if I looked at the second Google search result, like I would get kind of a more balanced definition. And the second, the second search result was from Focus on the Family. And they said, a mother doesn't just keep a child clean, fed, warm, and dry. She also helps enable her children to develop fully by pouring life into them. She models joy and passion. Nurturing is filling your child up with aliveness. Now, that's a pretty tall order. Like, you're supposed to keep your child fed, clean, warm, and dry while modeling joy and passion. And you're literally, in their job description, is to fill your child with aliveness. You know, same routine, Focus on the Family, dads. And their suggestion for dads' job description was a dad's primary underlying job isn't control. It's to validate every one of his children, to let them know, hey, you exist and you matter to me. And then they went on to give the example that if a child comes in during a football game, they should say hello and not, can't you see I'm watching the game? Oh my gosh. So again, it's not a bad advice, but the chasm of difference between what moms are supposed to do with filling our child with aliveness and the dad's job, which is to just let their kid know that they exist and that interrupting a football game, they're going to say hello. Like, that is an unreasonable difference. And in no way am I trying to point out or start a fight between moms and dads and say that dads aren't involved enough and moms do too much. No, really the point is the difference in expectations between what it takes to be a good mom and what it takes to be a good dad. And I could give you a dozen more examples, but I think you've got the picture. And so if you are a mom and you are feeling like you're failing all the time, it's not because of what job you're actually doing. It's because of the expectations that you're trying to live up to. Because big picture, as women, we're told that we're basically responsible for everything our kids do, feel, think, have, become, everything. And basically, if our child has a problem, it's our job to solve it. And our job alone. Because dads might be watching a football game. And again, that's not on dads. That's on what society says our job is. And we hear this so often and from so many sources that we internalize this job description. And all of our friends are hearing the same crazy job description and they're internalizing it. And so then we reinforce it in each other. And many parents are afraid to parent differently, to parent in ways that feel better to them, but they're afraid of judgment from other parents. And that's real. And on the flip side of that judgment, we as women are so rewarded for sacrificing ourselves for our kids that that feels good. So it's both sides. We're trying to avoid judgment and we're trying to get the accolades that you get when you sacrifice yourself and stay up all night and throw this amazing over the top birthday party. We're rewarded for that and we're punished for not doing that. So of course we're following those expectations. We hear this insane job description so often and from so many places that they become internalized and we start saying them to ourselves in ways that just seem like facts. It's easier to reject the crazy job description, fill your child with aliveness, but it feels like a fact when you say, I shouldn't have yelled, right? One seems crazy and it's easy to reject, but the other one is coming from inside your head and inside your own voice, and that just feels like a fact. It's like that horror movie where the call is coming from inside the house. That's how these expectations get us. It's when we say things like, Oh, I never ask him to help with chores because I know he's so busy with all of his activities. Or I hate saying no to her because I just want her to be happy. These are the things that we say when we want to solve our kids' problems for them. And when we're feeling like it's our job to do that. We feel terrible when our kids are unhappy. And we're told that it's right that we feel terrible. That if your child isn't full of alignedness, you better get to work and do what you can to fix that, or you aren't doing your job. Then thinking of motherhood as endless becomes just the way it is. And here's the thing. Here's the other way this feels tricky is when our kids were little, this job description did kind of make sense. They did need someone to solve their problems. Babies need someone to bring them food. And someone, not just moms, needs to change their diapers and make sure that toddlers don't stick forks in electrical sockets and run into the street. But as our kids get older, our job description changes, and many people don't grow their job description as their child grows. We're taking a job description that was written for very young children and applying it to the complex world of teenagers who are supposed to be transitioning to becoming adults. And then, and this is really the kicker. This is really the kicker. So after society teaches us this insane job description and rewards us and punishes us to the point where we've internalized that job description, then society steps back and calls us helicopter moms for being over-involved, right? So please tell me how I'm supposed to keep my child full of aliveness without being over-involved. Society teaches us this outdated job description and then judges us when we don't live up to it, gets us to enforce it on each other, uses it to sell us products, and then pretends that it was our idea and we're ruining our kids with it. And what we really need to do is let go. Society is basically that two-faced backstabbing Becky from 11th grade econ, right? Like society is basically gaslighting us. And the thing is, this sucks for moms and it hurts our kids because when we are busy solving all of their problems, they don't learn to. And you might be saying like, wait, my 16-year-old definitely still needs me. Like that kid is nowhere near being an adult. He can hardly get up for school on time. And of course he still needs you. Just because he can drive doesn't mean he doesn't still need parenting. But what I'm suggesting is that you have to shift your job description. You have to start cutting back on the fixing all their problems piece and start ramping up the consulting piece. And if you think of this like in a work example, if you have a coworker come into your cubicle at the end of the day and start complaining about having to redo a presentation and how they're going to have to stay late and how they're really tired and they just want to go home, you're going to say, yeah, that's terrible. Like that sucks. But you aren't going to jump in and do your coworker's presentation for them so that they can go home and go to bed. And it's like that with our kids too. We still want to be emotionally supporting them. But what we don't want to do is take over and do it for them because they're tired or because, they're in a group and the other members of the group didn't come through. Like all of these things that they're dealing with in high school are things that we want to support them in learning how to handle, but we don't want to fix it for them. And it will be hard. In many cases, it's a lot easier to solve a kid's problem or prevent it from happening in the first place than it is to support them while they solve it. And again, you're going to be going against so many expectations and you're going to be going against what the inside of your own head tells you. But here's the good news. It's worth it. All you have to do is to start by knowing that these unattainable expectations are hurting you and they're hurting your kids. And When you believe them, when you believe those expectations and you agree with them, you will feel terrible. You will feel miserable because, again, these are unattainable expectations. And so by believing them and agreeing with them, you are just always going to feel like you're not measuring up. That when your child is unhappy, you're supposed to do something about it. You're always going to feel overwhelmed. Like your kids should just listen to you so that they don't have as many problems, so that you don't have as many problems to solve. So the solution is to start noticing these expectations and questioning them. Because again, the expectations are only a problem when you believe them and feel like you have to follow them. And that's good news because it means that when you get good at noticing them, when you get the hang of setting your own job description, you won't need society to change their expectations because you'll have changed yours. And that is such a better way to parent for everyone involved. And if you need help untangling these expectations, because like I said, they start to come to you in your own voice. And in the beginning, it can feel hard to hear them, what feels like your own voice and what feels like society's voice. So if you need help untangling those, if you're feeling overwhelmed or resentful or you can't stop worrying, or if you just really want to go see Hamilton without feeling guilty, you know where to reach me. ParentingSuccessfulTeens@gmail.com. Just send me an email with help in the subject line and I'll send you a link to my calendar and we'll hop on the phone and talk about what's going on and how we can make it better. All right, everybody. Have an amazing week. And if you see an insane job description for good moms, go ahead and send that my way too. These are so fun, and I think I might start collecting them. So again, ParentingSuccessfulTeens@gmail.com. All right, bye everybody.
Thanks for listening to Parenting Successful Teens. If you enjoyed today's show, then I've got a treat for you. I have a free guide that teaches you how to get your teenagers to tell you about their day. No more one-word answers. And grabbing this guide is super easy. Just text the phrase "Get Teens Talking" as all one word, no spaces, to the number 44222. So that's the phrase "Get Teens Talking" without any spaces to the number 44222. And then you'll be prompted to give the email address that you want the guide sent to, and then it shows up in your email box just like magic. You know what else is magic? Having teenagers that talk to you. Now, I can't promise that you're going to like everything they have to say, but I can promise better conversations. Grab the guide, and I'll talk to you next week.